Now while you're watching this video, please remember to like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon for notification of future videos, and share this video also. Thank you. Yes, hello there guys, welcome again to my channel. If you would have watched my previous video, I stated that my tripod has been left at work, and at the time of this recording I haven't retrieved it as yet. So as you know, you will probably only see me using one hand. The other hand is actually holding the phone. So because of this, the phone may not be recorded in a way that it normally would, because I'm using the rear camera, right? Because the rear camera gives a better result than the front camera. I'm using the rear camera, and I can't know what is actually happening because I don't have my tripod. But nevertheless, by God's grace, I'm sure everything will be fine, right? So just bear with me. So I'm sure that you're very surprised by the title of this video. I mean, the thumbnail and everything. You know, we Jamaican, you know, when we want to make jokes in saying how a person is just, you know, like a person is going too far with something, and they would often say, you know you want junk though. When a Jamaica say that to you, you know, say you want like a junk though, and based on how they say it, they're saying, it's like they're saying, you know, you're just too much. That is what it basically means when a Jamaican give that kind of expression. You know you want junk though, and they say it in a laughing way or a joking way. It means that you're just too much. So yeah, why do I say that? Kismar, you're just too much, in a Kismar. You know, you're just too much, Kismar. Yes, I'm too much, right? Who would have thought that I would actually have done a video like this? I mean, you have touched on so many aspects of Ellen G. White, right? Showing how much of a false prophet she is, and how much the SDA church is just not a church that it should be. Why go as far as talk about Ellen G. White and her views on sex in marriage? Something that would be so embarrassing to the church. Why go so far, Kismar, to talk about things like those? The reason why I've chosen to do this, it's not only just to expose Ellen White and to show how much of an embarrassment she is and those that follow her are. It is because Ellen G. White is not the only person who holds legalistic views where sex in marriage is concerned. Right, so I just had to use her as basically an example to bring out some points that I want to bring out. Now, I'm not going to give much refutation, right, where this is concerned. For the purpose of this video, I'm only going to read a few quotes of Ellen G. White so you understand how Ellen G. White views sex in marriage, right? And in the next video, which I'll do next week, I'll give you the biblical position on sex in marriage, right? So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm only going to show you the quotes now, right? And in my next video I will tackle the biblical aspects of Ellen G. White. Also, there has been someone in my country who says they're a pastor, and in truth and in fact that individual have made himself into a complete, I'm going to try to be respectful, that person has made himself look completely foolish, right? Because he did a video, right? A YouTube video talking about sex in marriage and so on. And it even went into the Star. So you'll understand that it's just not Ellen G. White is not the only person who is so foolish in mind and who is so lacking in biblical knowledge that she would go as far as to try to make rules for Christians how they should actually have sex in marriage, right? She's not the only person. There are many nutcases out there who actually share the same views as her and the pastor that I'm going to do a video on very soon, right? Now, most Seventh-day Adventists do not know that Ellen White says a number of things, right, where sex in marriage is concerned. As a matter of fact, there's actually a book on it called Testimonies on Sexual Behavior, Adultery, and Divorce. This book was basically published 1989, but you will never find it in an Adventist store. Why? Because it is an embarrassment actually So they wouldn't promote a book like this. You will have to go and order it yourself and get it from Ellen White, and maybe they request it from you know, the Ellen White estate, but they're not going to put it in their stores where they sell books, because it is a total embarrassment, and it will probably bring shame on them if the world, Christian world, would knew that the big bad mighty Seventh-day Adventists believe in such nonsense, right? So they will not put it in their bookstore, right? So yeah, so I'm going to go through that book for you, and you see just how sick and narcissistic Ellen G. White is, right? From the chapter 14, sexual excess within marriage. Sexual excess within marriage. Now, I can agree that everything should be done in temperance. The Bible says that. So, if you're a Christian, you wouldn't just be getting up having sex every single day, right? No one, I mean, if you really have any purpose on this earth, there is no way you would be having sex every day. So there are some things in the book where she talk about the expenditure of vital energy, which I can agree with her with, because it actually zaps some of your energy, and for you to be doing it consistently without rest, it may have a negative. Too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. So I'm giving credit where credit is due. So far, she does well. But then she's going to talk about excessive sexual indulgence, right? This is where I'm going to start from in the book. The subheading, excessive sexual indulgence. Here's what Ellen White have to say. The marriage covenant covers sins of the darkest hue. Men and women professing godliness debase their own bodies through the indulgence of the corrupt passions, and thus lower themselves beneath the brute creation. They abuse the powers that God has given them to be preserved in sanctity and honor. Health and life are sacrificed upon the altar of base passion. The higher nobler powers are brought into subjection to the animal propensities. So she's talking about animal behavior that occurs in marriage, sex in marriage. Those who do sin are not acquainted with the result of their course. Right? I'm not going to read all of it. So here's another quote. I'll put the quotes in the comment section and on screen if possible. Many professed Christians who passed before me seemed destitute of moral restraint. They were more animal than divine. In fact, they were about all animal. Men of this type degrade the wife whom they have promised to nourish and cherish. She is made an instrument to minister to the gratification of low, lustful propensities. And very many women submit to become slaves to lustful passion. They do not possess their bodies in sanctification and honor. The wife does not retain the dignity and self-respect which she possessed previous to marriage. Right? Oh gosh, there is just so much to say. She also says, no man can truly love his wife when she will patiently submit to become his slave and minister to his depraved passion. In her passive submissiveness, she loses the value she once possessed in his eyes. He sees her dragged down from everything elevating to a low level, and soon he suspects that she will as tamely submit to be degraded by another as by himself. He doubts her constancy and purity, tires of her, and seeks new objects to arouse and intensify his hellish passions. The law of God is not regarded. The wife also becomes jealous of the husband and suspects that if opportunity should offer, he would just as readily pay his addresses to another as to her. She sees that he is not controlled by conscience or the fear of God, and these sanctified barriers are broken down by lustful passion. All that is godlike in the husband is made a servant of low, brutish lusts. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of reading everything, alright, so let me give my take on this even before I continue. Now, where I am concerned, this is utter rubbish that Ellen White is saying, you know. She's basically saying that if a wife so submits herself to her husband, he'll soon grow tired of her and lose love for her and look at her at a low level. Right? And then she said that the wife is going to be suspicious of her husband, thinking that if he's like this towards her, any opportunity that arises, he will take the chance with anyone else. This is utter garbage, and I'm going to use myself as an example. You see, before I became a Christian, right? As a man, when it comes to sex, that's my love language. If you've never heard of sex being a love language, best believe that is my love language. You see, the girl who is able to minister to my sexual desires, she will probably have me controlled like a lock. You see, like this ring on my finger that is tight on my finger, this is how she's basically going to have me. So what she's saying is utter nonsense, because anyone with common sense can attest to that many men, they get stuck with women, and oftentimes it is a sex game that keep them locked in. Believe it or not, I've had instances when I was out in the world where I'm telling you, I've had some sexual experience with women. I have to say in my mind that I don't know if that is what they go to school and learn. If they have some passes in sexology, or you know, they have a degree in sex and so forth, because it seems to me like that's what they went to school and learn. And trust me, if God never delivered me from out of those relationships, I probably wouldn't save a dime. I just want to just give, and every time I would just be putting money. I've had really instances like that, you know, whereas I get my pay, I would just be stashing it away and say, yes, I'm going to give this girl something, you know, because I want to get something. You understand what I'm saying? Because the sex game is on a different level. I don't know which man in their right in mind can actually have a woman that is going to be submissive to them in that way and please them in a way sexually to their liking and actually want to leave. No. Ask any experienced woman, they will tell you, even when she's giving you a headache and causing you to cuss you and cuss and fight, you just can't leave. You just can't leave because of the sex. Now, this woman is a lunatic, and it makes me have to wonder, you know, right? Because we former Adventists, you know, in some of our groups, I heard some of them talking about it and saying that she must have had a bad sex life. And I really wonder if that's the case, you know. Because how on earth? But then again, knowing that she was a hypocrite, right? Because while she tell them to not eat certain things, it's a known fact that she eat those things that she said that they shouldn't eat. So I wouldn't be surprised if you know, James White was really putting it on her. You get what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if James White is putting it on her. But then no one knows. On the one hand, I'm wondering if she had a sexually fulfilled life, because I can't imagine a woman at that saying things like these. As a woman, she should know how important sex is to a man. So I'm wondering if James White was really enjoying himself with her. I'm wondering if she really satisfied her husband sexually well. Because this is just pure nonsense. Right? This is just pure nonsense and utter garbage. Now, I can't even say if I should continue on this, I'm not going to get to read the other quotes. So let me just leave it at that. Let me leave it at that, right? And read. Sorry about that. Let me leave it at that and continue reading. Let me leave it at that and continue reading, right? When the wife really yields her body and mind to the control of her husband, being passive to his will in all things, sacrificing her conscience, her dignity, and even her identity, she loses the opportunity of exerting that mighty influence for good, which she should possess to elevate her husband. She could soften his stern nature, and her signifying influence could be exerted in a manner to refine and purify, leading him to strive earnestly to govern his passions and be more spiritually minded, that they might be partakers together of the divine nature, having escaped the world through lust. So she's saying here that when she becomes so submissive to him, she loses the godly influence that she should have on him. But this is utter garbage as well, and it is unbiblical. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul tells her that the wife doesn't have control over her own body. Neither does the man have control over his body, but the wife. Right? So when you as a wife, the Bible says you don't have control over your own body, that simply means that you should be submissive, right, to your husband where sex is concerned. So Ellen White is saying that you shouldn't be submissive to your husband, right? And she's basically saying that your body is yours then to and not his to control. She's saying, by this statement, she's saying that you have authority over your own body. So if you be submissive to him in that way, you're going to lose the influence that he should have. And thus she's contradicting Paul, who says contrary-wise that you don't have control over your body, but your husband does, so you should therefore be submissive to him. So Ellen White is directly contradicting what the Bible says here. When you as a woman, if you're not submissive to your woman, if you're not submissive to your husband, should say, right? Especially in that way, you lose the influence that you should actually have on him. I can I can just imagine the Adventists back then, if they really took Ellen White seriously. I can only imagine how much relationship, right, was actually in haywire because of these silly things that Ellen White says out of her mouth. These silly rules that she bind upon them where sex in marriage is concerned. Mind you, Ellen White is not talking about orgies, right? She's not talking about swapping. She's not talking about adultery. She's not talking about sex with family member and stuff. None of that. This woman is condemning sex in marriage and saying that the woman should not be so submissive to a man. No, man, this woman, trust me, she's a crazy, 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 crazy woman. I want to keep this video short, so let me just continue. Oh gosh, there is so much. There's a part where she says transmission of vice from parents to children. From their youth up, they have weakened the brain and zapped the constitution by gratification of animal passion. Self-denial and temperance should be the watchword in their married life. Then the children born to them will not be so liable to have moral and intellectual organs weak and the animals strong. Vice in children is almost universal. Is there not a cause who have given them the stamp of character? May the Lord open the eyes of all to see that they are standing in slippery places. So basically what Ellen White is saying, that this kind of animal behavior, if you indulge in it as husband and wife, it can actually be passed on to your children that you give birth to, right? Our children, yeah, it can be passed on to the children that resulted in that marriage union. Then there is a part where she talk about the abuse of sexual privilege. So you having this sexual privilege and you abuse it by the sexual practices that you have within marriage. And then there's a part where that talks about vital importance of a good example. The animal passions, cherished and indulged, become very strong in this age, and untold evils in the marriage life are the sure results of such a practice. Guys, I'm going to have to lower passions and an unhealthy mind. And then she said, in the indulgence weakens the moral powers. So what she's saying, is that when you practice certain sexual activities within marriage, right, it can cloud your mind, your judgment and so forth, and it can actually affect your morals. You see how serious Ellen White is and how hard and fast she is on sex within marriage. Wow. Just wow. This woman, forgive me guys, I can't find the words to express, to really state, to really talk about this, and I don't even really know what to say. I'm just completely wowed at these things, guys. I really just don't know what to say. Now, based on what Ellen White is saying, that means that there are certain sexual activities within marriage that are a sin, right? And anything, all sin can ultimately lead you to hell, you know, to perdition, you know. Can you imagine? Yes, guys, can you imagine on Judgment Day, right? You're standing before Christ and you're wondering why you're lost, and you're saying, Lord, Lord, look how many things have I done. How is it that I am lost? And he's saying to you, well, I saw you doing some things with your wife, you know. Yes, I saw those little naughty things that you were doing with your wife. Or you had up one foot on the settee and one foot down, and you were blowing that back out. I saw you did that, you know. Yes, yes. All those little things that you were doing in the bedroom with your wife, your husband. Yes, I saw every single thing, and you know I don't condone those practices, you know. Yes, I saw everything, and now you're going to pay the ultimate price for that. Depart from me, I know you not. No, heaven will not tolerate such behavior such as that, you know. It will not tolerate those kind of behaviors. How can you call yourself my follower and yet still you're spanking the ass like that? How can you call yourself a follower of mine and yet still you're doing those things? It just sounds utterly ridiculous, don't it? You see the problem is, you know, persons who actually teach such nonsense, they are not aware of the fact that the minute you say that there are certain things in marriage between husband and wife, you know, that is not sexually permissible, you're saying that they can ultimately be lost because of that, because all sin, right, and everything that is wrong, if you know to do something that is right and the wrong, it can ultimately stand as a witness against you in judgment. They're essentially saying that you will be lost, and they don't realize that that is what they're saying, you know. And this is the purpose for apologists, right? Because it is our duty as an apologist to point out the little nitty-gritty stuff, right, that average person would realize that their arguments is actually saying, right? There is no way that these things could actually be true, because if you think about it, you know, if God was so concerned about what husband and wife does in the marital bedroom, don't you think that he would have put in detail as to what is permissible and what isn't permissible in the marriage bed? As far as we know, the only form of sexual practice that the Bible condemns is sex before marriage, sex between male and male, female and female, sex between man, male and beast, woman and beast, sex between persons that are of the same family descent, right? So that simply means it's called incest. But the Bible condemns that. And we know that the Bible also condemns adultery, right, which is sex outside of wedlock. But never ever has it ever hinted about any condemnation for what someone does sexually between male and female in the bedroom. If this was a cause for concern for God, don't you think he would have actually put something in writing where that is concerned? No, I'm basically gonna put this video at a close. Just those arguments that I raise is enough to basically refute everything that Ellen White actually says. But I'm not stopping there. Starting next week, I'm going to give you the biblical position, right? I'm going to go in depth in the Bible and to show you that there is no such thing as anything that is prohibited, right, sexually between male and female that is married. And what I'm also going to do, I'm going to show you the same guy that I mentioned about in Jamaica, a video that he did raising his argument about certain sexual practices in the bedroom. I'm going to show you the scripture passage that he used. I'm going to tackle it and refute it, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So we should be able to wrap up this subject on sex in marriage very soon. So with that being said, again, I thank you for listening this video. You know what to do now. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye bye now.